What's up everybody, cilinixfxcapital here. Are you tired of missing opportunities and losing money while trading in these markets? Then I might have the solution for you. For those of you who don't know, we run the cilinixfxcapital Signal and Premium group, in which I not only share my own trades, so profitable signals, but I also give you 24/7 mentoring to actually become a better trader yourself, and you gain access to a trading guide with multiple strategies and basic beginner tricks to actually become a profitable trader yourself. If you're interested in that, links will be down in the description or in the pinned comment, and make sure to check that out right now. If you join through Telegram, there's actually a limited time only lifetime offer in there as well. So check that out and hopefully we will connect. Good afternoon everybody, welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great and welcome to this new video in which we're going to do a full update on the crypto markets for today, Thursday the 4th of September. We're going to do a full update on the fundamentals. We'll talk about that briefly. I think the title of the video or the thumbnail is something like major news coming. There is major news coming and you should be prepared for that, and I will do my best to prepare you for that, both the time going into that but also afterwards. Then we'll talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin at this point of time, again, is still very, very relevant for altcoins. As you can see, most altcoins, first of all, are very volatile, but are also still following Bitcoin. So we'll take a look at Bitcoin, we'll take a look at XRP briefly, we'll take a look at Ethereum briefly, and then there are some altcoins that I also want to spend some specific time on for a specific reason that I think you need to have on your watch list as well. So let's get right into it. So like I said, fundamentals first. We just got some economic data, which I wanted to briefly discuss, and that's this. Earlier today, we got the ADP employment change that is worse than expected. We had jobless claims, those were mixed, and then we had services PMI, and that's mixed as well. The S&P Global Services PMI is lower than expected. The ISM Services PMI is higher than expected. So ultimately, what we're seeing right now in the markets is barely any reaction, to be fair. All right, so if you take a look at the dollar strength index, it's slightly bullish. If you take a look at the S&P 500, it's slightly bearish, but it opened higher, all right? The US market opened half an hour before. So at this point of time, I don't think we're going to see a major market reaction because of that. Not because of the news, at least. We might still see some major market moves. And then tomorrow we have a lot of data coming out with the unemployment rate and non-farm payrolls. And that is what I think you need to be prepared for. First of all, a day where we get non-farm payrolls and unemployment rate data normally is very volatile, not only after the data, but also before. And in general, look, what we want to see, I would say, for the best possible reaction for the markets would be unemployment rate to go up from 4.2 to 4.3, which is expected. That's most likely to happen. And then I want non-farm payrolls to be slightly lower than expected. If they're slightly lower than expected, I think we can be certain that the 17th of September, when we have the next Federal Reserve meeting, we're going to get a rate cut. It's already very, very likely right now, but it's not set in stone yet, and it is still dependent on the news. So that's the data what we're looking for. Now, if we're looking at the markets today, by the way, fundamentally, something that I like to see as well is that we have a bit of a Coinbase Bitcoin premium, all right? So there's some bidding and there's some increased demand on Coinbase for Bitcoin, which is, sometimes historically, that's a good sign. All right, but okay, so the New York session or the US session has started 30 minutes ago. The first hour and a half is usually quite crucial. What I said this morning, looking at Bitcoin, is the most important level that we need to hold is 110,000. And we're testing that right now. All right. Now, I think it's most likely. So this is both my take on Bitcoin, but also my take on altcoins, because as you can see, now that Bitcoin is testing that 110,000 level, altcoins are most likely going to test a level a little bit lower as well. If you take a look at others, the main level that's going to test is $290 billion. So this is an altcoin index. I think it's most likely that we might spike down a little bit lower, but that we ultimately will be able to hold that level between 109,400 and 110,000, and that we will be able to find support there, gain stability, and I also think we'll be able to get a move into the 90-day rolling VWAP around 112,500. That's what I expect. All right, that's my expectation. That's my prediction on Bitcoin. Now, does that mean that this is 100% going to happen? No. All right, and I personally do have a little trade on this in all transparency, but this is also a test. All right, Thursday is usually a bit of a bearish day. That's fine, but if we're unable to get a good reaction here, which we'll really see that in the next hour, I think. If we're unable to get a good reaction here, it's first of all likely that we're going to revisit 108 and 107. But then after 108 and 107, it's also more likely that we're going to drop all the way down to 105 and 104,000. Not necessarily today or tomorrow, but just in general, the likelihood of dropping down into that later next week or so becomes higher. Now, so those are my thoughts on Bitcoin and altcoins. In general, altcoins in general, I have to say that I think Ethereum and XRP look quite similar. As you can see, Ethereum is also testing the bottom of the value that we have formed over the last couple of days. My thoughts on that are exactly the same. And XRP is following that same model, all right? Testing this naked point of control at 2.8. I also have the same expectations. At this point of time, the entire market is just quite correlated, which is not necessarily a good thing, to be fair. But that's but it's just very dependent on how Bitcoin will react. So keep your eyes on that. Are there some coins that I think are relatively interesting specifically? I still think Solana is relatively strong, so that is something I'd keep my eyes on. We saw some momentum coming into Hedera, so that could be interesting. And a little bit of a wild card, but I actually think Pump.fun has started an uptrend, and it's quite resilient, and there's actually a fundamental reason to be quite bullish, or at least interested in Pump.fun and their token. So those are my thoughts. That's what I think you need to know regarding the fundamentals today and tomorrow. Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and of course some specific altcoins. That's it for now. Take care, everybody. Hope you're all going to have a good day trading for the rest of the day. But I'll see you on my next videos, and take care. Bye.